Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it. So explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it. No scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool. Hear my heartbeat beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones. Bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on UCY.tv and the antimedia.com/radio. Really happy to be back live and well on this Monday, June 4th, 2018. What a crazy, insane time. A lot of stuff happening, and we're going to be going back over some news stories and some developments. And hopefully we'll be joined by DB and possibly Jake. I know Jake is trying to make it down to the studio. Might be here with us live on Wednesday. Yes, we'll be live Wednesday. I know we've missed some shows recently due to some miscommunication, mistakes, and stuff like that. Unfortunately, UCY is going to be shutting down in the next several days, and that means we are going off air. But rest assured, we're going to keep going, and what I plan on doing is starting a weekly podcast, so you guys get to see my ugly face. And, you know, we'll see if DB and Jake join us, and if not, you know, I'll be having some other guests and stuff. So Wednesday will be our last show here on UCY, but we are going to continue on doing this kind of talk show, talk radio, podcast type thing. May take us a month to get it up and going, but we'll be back on. Don't worry about that. If you want to, what I probably will do is release the podcast immediately to our Patreon subscribers, and then it'll be released to the public like the next morning or something like that. So if you want a first look at it, make sure you subscribe to us on Patreon. Send us $1 a month or something, or more if you can afford it. Really helps because, you know, we're still dealing with a lot of this algorithmic censorship. We've gotten some of our traffic back, but it's nowhere near what it was, you know, pre 2016 election, after all this fake news bullshit came around and the mainstream media kind of used it to triangulate against us. Hey, I give them props for being effective, I guess. I mean, they did it. They've successfully censored independent media. I know most of the media, indie media companies that we directly work with are struggling very much financially, many of which are cutting back, shutting down. We've done our own cutbacks. We've had to cut back even more this month, but we're still going. We're not stopping. And I don't care if it comes down to just me, DB, and Jake just doing it on the podcast. We're going to keep it going. And there's still a lot of stuff to be talked about, a lot of people to reach, and a lot of discussions that need to be had that aren't being had right now in the mainstream. And so we're going to keep on plugging away at that. That being said, again, please support us in any way you can if you want to keep us going. Even $1 a month, it helps. Patreon.com/theantimedia, or you can just go to the website and go to the support. Under the About section, go to support us if you want to send us some Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. We're accepting all that stuff. Still waiting on the crypto funding to come through. Hopefully that happens this month, and if so, we got some really big plans. I guess since we're coming under the close of a couple last radio shows, I may as well kind of throw out some of these plans that I have. But the first would be, if and when we get the crypto funding, is rebuilding the antimedia.com website on top of the blockchain, probably the Steemit blockchain, or the Steem blockchain, I should say, because Steemit is just a website that's built on top of the Steem blockchain, and so we're planning on rebuilding our site on top of the Steem blockchain, and that way people who use our site, people who leave comments, people who submit posts into the My News section will actually be able to earn money, earn cryptocurrency by using our website. And literally, if you leave a clever comment and it gets a bunch of upvotes, you could actually earn money that way. As crazy as that sounds, that's how Steemit works, and that's how Steem works, and that's how we're going to rebuild our website, hopefully. And then after that, we will be opening the company up to investment from our audience. So we'll be a reader-owned news website. So that's going to be down in the pipeline. And this stuff is separate from the really, really big news, which I still unfortunately can't disclose because we haven't heard word back yet on it. But if that news comes through, I mean, the anti-media is going to be better, bigger, reaching more people than ever. And, look, we're dealing with some censorship. We're dealing with these corporate media people trying to crush us because they lost control of their narrative in the last election. We get it. But it has only strengthened our resolve, and we're going to, and I hate using that kind of bullshit rhetoric, but it's true. We're just going to keep on pushing harder, and not only that, but just thinking and being smarter than they are, and being more honest, not having to hide our intentions, being transparent. And I think you guys all pretty much know, you've been listening to this program, been reading our website, you know where our intentions are. We're an anti-imperialist news organization. There's no other way to put it. We're a pro-civil liberties news organization. And we don't have to hide that. We don't have to pretend like we're making news stories about a topic because we're getting paid by some asshole to we're not like MSNBC, who's owned by Comcast, making some fucking 15-minute infomercial about how fucking awesome Comcast is. We don't got to do that bullshit. We don't have to hide our intentions. You guys know what they are. We don't like the empire, and we like civil liberties, and we promote civil liberties, and we expose the empire. Pretty much that's it. That's an honest take on what the anti-media is. Anti-imperialist news. If you go to our site, that's pretty obvious. Anyway, yeah, so Wednesday will be our last show on UCY anyway, and hopefully we have Jake in the studio. I know he's going to be in town. I know he said he's coming over tomorrow, so I don't know if he's going to stay the night and stay for the show on Wednesday or not, but I'll be seeing Jake tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of beers and talk about plenty of interesting things. I don't know if you guys supported Jake's, Jake's making a film about Elisa Lam, which was this woman who died at this hotel in LA. And there's a lot of mysteries surrounding her death. Many people think it was, a lot of people think it was like supernatural, like the ghost or something killed her. A lot of people think it was a suicide. A lot of people think it was a murder. Nobody really knows. It's still pretty much an unsolved case, and there's a big kind of cult following surrounding this case, and people want to ask questions and learn more about it. And Jake is actually making a film about it and writing a book. And so I'm sure we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. I just received an email from the team, Jake's team, that's working on that, and they got some good stuff investigating, talking to witnesses and stuff like that. And so I'm really interested in that, and see what they can uncover, turn it into a documentary, get the book published and stuff. Maybe if Jake's on later, he can talk about it a little more. I'm joined now by DB Schwartz. What's up, dude?
Hey, just busy, man. It's the time for me, so trying to make money because I don't make it in like 4 or 5 months. It'll start slowing down. So
that time of the year, huh?
Yeah, man, because it was snowing like 5 weeks ago. So
oh man, up in the far north.
But it's perfect now, and it's gonna stay perfect for like 2 more months, and then it's gonna change to a little bit chilly, but it's really nice. And then like 5 months from now, it'll start snowing again.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys can do it with all that snow. I guess I'm spoiled here in Southern California. Yeah, dude. So look, tonight's our second to last radio show, and we're gonna try to keep it going on a podcast or something. And it'll take us a little while to get it set up. I want to kind of thinking about including some video. DB, you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. I don't know if you want to.
I have professional considerations now that don't jive with my political aspirations. It's funny how that works. When you're trying to be respectable, you can't be political in our society. But if you try to be political, you don't need to be respectable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like the whole Roseanne thing, right? Yeah, she said some. I read it as some pretty racist stuff. Plenty of people.
But Valerie Jarrett is Iranian. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't want to go too deep into it, but it kind of just goes to show. Look, you can get fired from your job for being a douche or for saying some off-color comments, but when you're a politician, I mean, it's almost like encouraged at this point.
But if it's gonna affect her, but not affect people at the top, then you can be sure they're going to use it to punish people for being the wrong kind of citizens. I mean, we're seeing that with the social credit in China. They'd just love to roll that out here.
Oh yeah. And people, first of all, if you haven't looked into the social credits in China, definitely take a look at that, because that's some really, I wouldn't even call it Orwellian. It's like post-Orwellian. And it's basically, it's set up to where people who are considered unpatriotic or considered not ideal citizens get their credit score, their social credit score lowered, and then it bars them from doing certain things like traveling on planes, leaving the country, public transportation. I'm sure they'll start precluding people from being able to get housing if they don't reach a certain credit score and stuff. This is kind of some stuff you may have seen on Black Mirror, that really Orwellian British TV show. Really predicts a lot of this stuff that's going on right now. And the U.S. really, I mean, we've already got the credit score, everything linked into your social security number. I mean, we think, we're like, oh my God, China, it's so bad. It is, but at the same time, I mean, it's not that much different, is it, from what is already going on here in the U.S., where your credit score kind of dictates whether you could, what neighborhood you can live in, what car you can drive, can you get your cable box set up, can you get electricity in your house? I mean, a lot of that stuff goes off your credit score, and of course, poorer people generally have worse credit scores because they have missed bills, they've missed payments, or they've defaulted on a credit card once or twice, and therefore their costs go up, their interest rates go up. It's a way to keep the poor. At the same time, I understand credit scores, because you don't want to lend money to some asshole that keeps borrowing money and not paying it back. I mean, we've all got friends who we've lent money to, or let someone borrow something, or fronted them a fucking sack of weed and they never paid you back for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've all got friends like that, and after a while, people stop lending them money. I get it. But at some point, we have to start wondering, has it gone too far? And in China, they're really pushing the limits on it, dude. And so that's a really crazy, interesting thing to look at, dude. And China is really trying to perfect perfect its citizenry. I don't know if that's the correct way of saying it, but they're trying to make them perfect Chinese subservience. And it's going to be interesting to see it play out, dude. China's already known to be very authoritarian, very, has a lot of censorship, crushes protests and stuff like that. And so I don't know how that's going to play out in the long run, but it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe they're actually going to finally figure out how to quell a citizenry, because every citizen, every group of people has a breaking point, right? In the U.S., instead of going, I think, as much in an authoritarian direction with like massive censorship and stuff like China does, I mean, the U.S. has done it kind of differently, where they just distract the shit out of everybody, divide them along political lines, and neutralize them, turn them against each other. In China, they're not really playing that divide and conquer game. They're actually trying to keep everyone fully united under the banner of the state, And so I think it's an interesting experiment. Unfortunate for the people who live there. But an interesting experiment nonetheless. DB, what are your thoughts on it? Yo, DB, I think you're muted. The NSA got the DB over there in Minnesota. They got him. All right. Let's keep going here, because we got some other stuff. I mean, Trump going on and on with his right to pardon himself. I tend to agree with him, actually. I think he, not that he's right, or not that it's good, I should say, but can Trump pardon himself? I think so. He can pardon anybody. That's kind of one of the problems with giving the executive branch so much power, and this is something that I think the founding fathers, for all their flaws and all their issues and all their hypocrisy, they understood that it's not a good thing to give too much executive power, and it has to be balanced out, because everyone knows executive power always gets aggregated and abused, right? The executive branch always tries to make itself more powerful, and then when it gains the power, it abuses it. Most obvious example, Nazi Germany, where Hitler came to power under via a somewhat democratic process, and then using a series of emergencies, was able to empower himself as a dictator. Going back, you can see it happen throughout most empires in history. Most democracies and republics have kind of fallen to the same disease of authoritarianism. The Greeks, the Romans, pretty much any other country that has tried democracy out, same thing always happens. And that's why the founding fathers, again, for all their faults, they knew that the executive branch was going to try to gain too much power, and they tried to water it down. Now, of course, a piece of paper doesn't really never is enough to safeguard freedom. And the executive has grown very strong. I think Abraham Lincoln may have been the strongest executive that this country has ever seen. And if you look at the history books, Abraham Lincoln is enshrined as the single greatest president that this country has ever had, up there with, George Washington. But, Abraham Lincoln, like every other person, good and bad stuff, he did good stuff freeing the slaves. He did bad stuff by empowering the executive branch, and some other things that he did. But it's gotten a lot worse, I think, after 9/11, after that huge catastrophe. The emergency powers that were gifted over to the executive branch, because I don't know, Congress didn't want to be culpable or didn't want the responsibility, they'd kind of just say, all right, let's just hand it all over to the president. And ever since then, it's been this kind of, Bush is so bad, so we got to elect Obama. And then it's like, oh, Obama's so bad, we got to elect Trump. And then it's going to be, oh, Trump is so bad, we got to elect, so-and-so, Bernie or Oprah or fucking The Rock or somebody, right? And so now we're kind of stuck in this cycle where the executive is so powerful and can kind of do a bunch of things that maybe they shouldn't be doing, like imprisoning people and extrajudicially killing people, creating assassination lists and all that stuff. Maybe the executive branch shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff, but they do, because the country was full of fear after 9/11, all the propaganda going, scaring the shit out of everybody, and the country willingly handed over the power to the executive. And I'll tell you what, Congress is as unpopular as ever. And the executive...
The Senate.
What's up?
I was going to say the Senate they're at like 13%. I think the House isn't as bad because people know they can get rid of these fools, but senators with their 6-year terms... I mean, dude, think about it. Think about how many senators have 5 terms. That's 30 years, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, and that dude Menendez, Menendez, man, he just won his primary. The dude got fucking...
Dude, isn't he under investigation and shit still? I mean, are people that retarded?
He was found guilty, and he just won his primary to run in the Senate.
God, people are so stupid. Like... there should be some kind of prevailing question. It can be just something that would be really basic, but you'd have to pay attention to know it to allow you to vote. You have to show up and they'll ask you a pertinent question. You don't know the answer, get the hell out of here. Did you know the guy that you voted for is a sexual predator? I guess it doesn't matter. It's like Roy Moore. It doesn't matter to people anymore. You don't have to have any moral compass to run, and people will just vote for you.
Yeah, dude. Well, okay, Menendez. Sorry, I'm wrong. Menendez, their election is tomorrow. It's in New Jersey, but the guy he's running against has no support, so he's basically a shoo-in. So yeah, he's probably gonna be the Democratic candidate.
Dude, that's some scary shit, man. It's like criminals are running it, dude.
Yeah, and then there's that other dude who's an open pedophile. Do you see that guy? He's literally a pedophile, and he's running...
Yeah. How can this be?
He got
we have standards for everything else, but not standards for the standards makers?
It's insane. It's fucking insane, dude.
It's dangerous for kids, dude. Think about it. If these sick bastards are running, that means people in there are for sure already into that shit.
Yeah, man, it's ridiculous, bro. It's unbelievable. If you want to read about this Menendez thing, I mean, it's over on The Intercept. Democrats set to renominate Senator Bob Menendez after preventing challengers, showing how calcified the party is. So yeah, the Democratic Party blocked any real challenger to this guy. So the party is like, yeah, no, we want our guy back in. The dude that is convicted of fucking corruption. The Democratic Party wants him back in the Senate. So, no big surprise, really.
They put 100% of their eggs in Hillary's basket, and now that she lost, they literally there's no other course for them. They're pot committed, so to speak, in a game of poker. Their hand is shit, but it doesn't matter. They're gonna have to ride it out to the end.
Yeah.
They can't not, because the donors paid them already. So these people are owed favors, and if they don't continue to play the game, even though they know the game is over, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this shit is over. Yeah. Everything you're seeing on the news, all these little marches, all this crap, all this school shooting, everything you hear, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, dude. It's just all they're doing is setting it up so when the real masters, the real puppet masters come out from behind the curtains, the real ones for the U.S., because I think they're different now than they have been. I don't think people are going to be able to handle it, dude. I don't think they're going to be able to handle economic reset, and they're not going to be able to handle the fact that we're not a corporation anymore, and that basically the government teat, so to speak, is dried out. Like, if you think it's bad now, when they start cutting all of the programs, including EBT and shit and Section 8, that's going to create something. And that's on the way, dude.
Yeah, so the the March for Our Lives, which is organized by the David Hogg kid, the kids that the survivors of the Parkland shooting, they're doing their get out the vote thing, and so no big surprise there either. I mean, this is from almost immediately after the shooting, the Democratic kind of party handlers hijacked their student movement, turned it into a get out the vote thing. I don't know if you remember, but during their marches, they were signing people up to vote and all that. Same kind of went with the Women's March. Again, I don't want to denigrate the protesters themselves, but the organizers, the fingerprints are there of the Democratic establishment, and it's kind of just get out the vote stuff. And so, the Democrats are trying to retake the Congress, and I guess we'll know more tomorrow. There's a bunch of elections going on tomorrow, including here in California. I'm seeing all the fucking annoying political signs everywhere that these assholes plaster up on every wall and then leave them up there afterwards. Anyone looking to recycle banners, though, I mean, go clip that shit down, recycle all those yard signs and shit. Use them for something good. So yeah, we'll be able to talk a little bit more on this politics shit, these election stuff on Wednesday. I honestly, I don't see the Democrats making much ground. I think they'll gain some seats. I don't think they'll gain a majority in either house, because the Democrats are so goddamn stale that it's like you said, dude, it's just the party of Hillary Clinton at this point. And if you look at a lot of the primaries, the Democratic Party has been shutting down all these Bernie Sanders type of candidates, all these grassroots, progressive candidates, which, I don't fully agree with on many, many issues, but at least a lot of these people are anti-imperialist. At least a lot of these people aren't, bankrolled by Wall Street and large corporations and shit. I mean, it's like looking at Bernie Sanders and Trump and saying, oh, which one would you rather? Well, God, I'd have to be an idiot to say I'd rather have Trump over Bernie Sanders, right? But the Democratic Party has been shutting all these candidates down, bro. And so because of that, you got to also remember that the most active political, the most passionate political people, the ones that are most likely to vote, are a lot of these progressive far left people, and they're getting disenfranchised even worse. So I really don't see the Democratic Party regaining House or Senate. Not that it would matter anyway. They're no fucking different than the Republicans on most issues anyway.
They're worse, dude. They really are, because they pretend to care, and they get a segment of the population that's extremely naive to buy into it and to give it firepower. And that's what they do, dude. That they run it in a circle. So they have these guys that, play the villains on the far right, and you have the saviors on the far left, but they're both complete crackpots. They're insane. They don't give a shit about you because they're all rich. And when the economy drops, they're not going to feel it because they're worth 10, 20, 30 million on average on $140,000 a year salaries. And if the dollar gets cut in half for buying power, believe it or not, if you have 10 million in the bank, you actually get richer. Think about that. If buying power gets cut down and you have just excess already, now you have even that much more because everyone else is scrambling just to survive. So that's where things like the Great Depression created a housing boom, because people bought homes for $1. You know what I mean? It's crazy times ahead. That's what they're prepping for. All this other stuff is just distractions. It really is. You're never going to repeal the Second Amendment, and all the things they're doing right now are just feeding into the firepower of more and more conflict, dude. They want us to be armed so we can fight each other. Believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but Yeah, dude. I mean, this in many ways, I agree with you on the Democrats, dude. Like, they are worse because people think they're better, and they're not, right? At least with the Republicans, they have like open contempt for poor people and minorities and gay people, and I mean, at least Republicans openly are like, you know what, fuck them, fuck them, fuck them. You're cool, and fuck them, right? And the Democrats.
I don't know if they have as much contempt for the latter two. I mean, they definitely don't like the poor. But I mean, I'm starting to see more conservatives. There's even like gay conservative groups.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a very fine line between conservative and being a far right lunatic.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And on the other hand, the Democrats are like, well, we care about everybody except for the rich. You know what I mean? Like, we want everyone to succeed except for rich people. And the problem is that, at least with the Republicans, it's like, yeah, dude, straight up tax cuts for the rich. You know what I'm saying? And with the Democrats, it's like, well, we're going to take on Wall Street and we're going to take on the insurance companies. And, oh, yeah, here's Obamacare and here's a bailout for Wall Street. And it's like, oh, okay, because, yeah, the insurance companies hate that the government is forcing everyone to buy insurance, and the Wall Street hates that you guys just bail them the fuck out. And so I think you're right, man. What I think is the Republicans are a little more honest. Now they're highly deceptive on many issues such as spending and deficits and fiscal responsibility and that kind of shit, because Trump is actually increasing the debt and the deficit faster than much faster than Obama was. And when Obama was president, all the Republicans would talk about was, oh my God, he's spending and the deficit and the debt and the blah, 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 blah. And then Trump takes office, accelerates the fuck out of spending, and then it's like literally silence from the right. So now the Republicans have their own, their own type of hypocrisy, where they pretend they care about small businessmen. They pretend to, care about balanced budgets and that kind of stuff, fiscal conservatism and that kind of stuff, when they really don't. But at least they're honest about hating certain groups of people. The Democrats, on the other hand, again, they pretend like they love everybody and hate the big banks and hate Wall Street and hate, big companies. And in reality, it's actually like they do almost identical policies as the Republicans, and then they also bail out the fucking banks and the insurance companies. And so I think the Democrats are just more deceptive than the Republicans, and for that alone makes them worse in a way,
And really here's the thing. If you look at far left, they're going to take you to a place you don't want to go either. Despite the forced equality, it's going to be the quelching and destruction of freedom of thought. I mean, seriously, freedom of thought, because you're going to be afraid to say anything you think soon if we allow it to slide too far this way. So
yeah.
There's got to be a balance, dude.
Yeah, and it's that also skews either way, and it's kind of like the whole NFL thing where Trump is kind of cheerleading on this thing where the NFL is mandating that the players stand up for the fucking national anthem, right? And then on the left, it's like intolerant of certain speech and intolerant of certain ideas, and so what we have going on right now is a tax on free speech from both the right and the left, and they're coinciding with each other. Left and right are both attacking free speech while at the same time claiming to be getting attacked for their free speech. I mean, you're dealing with some really serious doublespeak here, and all of it is leading to less and less freedom.
It truly is. It truly is.
Look, all you got to do is look at two separate Facebook posts. I don't know if you remember DB, but I think it was shortly before the presidential election. There was this big news story that a guy wearing a Trump hat was kicked out of a bar because they didn't want a Trump supporter in the bar. I'm sure you remember that story, right? Oh, and at the time, you see a bunch of people on the left cheering it on, right? And personally, I fall on the side of on that specific instance. I fell on the side of the left. Yeah, dude, the bar owner should be allowed to kick out a Trump supporter. If he doesn't like someone wearing the Trump hat in his bar or saying certain things in his bar, he should.
But why not? But why not anyone then?
Yeah, and then at the same time, the same people that cheered that on are now up in arms about this ruling today at the Supreme Court, where the ruling said, you know, the baker has a right to not make a cake for a gay wedding, right? And
well, that's what happens when you let it swing the door open, man. I mean, dude, don't people understand that? I mean, here's the thing, dude. The framework of the Constitution, the first and the second in combination, and they're hacking away at both. And when you lose them, there's nothing left. Everything else beyond that's moot. It doesn't matter. If you can't protect yourself and you can't speak your mind, you're nothing. You are already a slave.
Yeah. And on this ruling, now, during the Trump hat thing, the people on the right were like, oh my God, that's a violation of free speech and blah, 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 blah. And now, today, the people on the left are like, oh my God, that's a violation of, you know, our rights and all that stuff. And the people on the right are like, well, they're protecting free speech, I support it, you know. And today, I fall in line with the people on the right. I said, a baker should be allowed to say, you know what, I don't want to make a cake for a gay wedding. I think he's a fucking idiot, and I think he's a moron, but do I think the government should be able to dictate to him that he has to do a certain thing? No. Fuck no, dude. That's fully wrong. Now, it would be one thing if everyone was like, you know what, I'm on the left and I totally accept that. You know, they shouldn't be able to make them, just like they shouldn't be able to make the bartender serve the Trump supporter. You know, it falls either way. Now, if that's what we're going on, then I'd be like, okay, cool. People are starting to understand that certain people have rights to do what they, you know, if they don't want to do something for a certain person or a certain group, as ugly or as dumb or as cool, maybe in some cases it may be, they don't have to do it, right? But what I'm actually seeing is a bunch of people saying, well, they should have made him fucking bake the fucking cake. Or they should have made the bartender serve the Trump guy, the Trump supporter. Again, it goes back to what we were just talking about. The attacks on free speech are coming from both sides, and both of them are going to lead to this kind of thought police, which maybe the pendulum may swing with each government, left and right. But in the end, what we're seeing is a reduction of our rights from both sides of the aisle, and you know, this is something that is very fucking concerning right now. And I want to bring up another story, and this is something we talked about here, and you know, it was a huge fucking thing in the conspiracy circles. Jade Helm, right? Jade Helm was this military drill that went on, what was that, like 2 years ago now? 2.5? I can't remember. It's been a while. And all these right-wingers were like, oh my God, they're fucking gonna make FEMA camps in the Walmarts, and they're gonna start putting, you know, patriots in fucking, you know, FEMA camps and this kind of shit. And you know, of course, that didn't happen. We don't know what the Jade Helm thing was all about. I got my theory, but at the time, all these fools are like, oh my God, this is fucking dangerous. These are like Second Amendment, you know, patriot, 3%ers, you know, oath keeper types. They're all concerned about that. And today, a story comes across my desk, and I want to just read you the fucking headline because this is ridiculous. Where is it? There we go. Staff calls cops on senator trying to see immigrant detention center in former Walmart. So, I just kind of want to bring up some of this mental gymnastics here, this, I don't know, hypocrisy, whatever you want to call it. The patriots, the conservatives, the gun rights people thought that there was some conspiracy to make FEMA camps to stick them in because Obama was going to declare martial law or something. That's basically the rough kind of conspiracy theory.
I heard.
Now,
I heard he did declare it, and that they just ignored him.
Now, but what's going on right now is they've literally turned an old Walmart into basically what it's not really a FEMA camp. It's more of it's run by a private organization, but this is more of like a military internment camp. I don't know exactly how to describe it. It's hard. It's an immigration detention center. These are children who have not committed any crimes being held in fucking jails, sleeping on the fucking floor with fucking those plastic sheets to keep them warm. I don't know if you guys have seen the pictures, but you should. And this senator went down there. Now, he's probably a dickhead. He's probably just doing it for political gain. Jeff Merkley, I don't know much about him. But regardless, he went down there. He videotaped. He tried to go in there and see it. And they fucking called the cops on him. They wouldn't let him see it. And all the windows are boarded up, blacked out, can't see in. No one knows what it's like going in there. And this stuff started under Obama. You know, that story went really viral last week about how there's 1,500 immigrant children missing as of 2016.
Well, how many are total missing, though, every year? Like 800,000?
I don't know, but it was...
That is the number.
It was 1,500 missing, right? That were in federal custody, and then they're no longer accounted for. And
well, why is it news when it's that? Why is it not news when it's hundreds of thousands missing every year? Like, why does it take something that would be politicized to bring awareness to a massive problem? Like, it cannot be all runaways. It's massive abduction circles, dude.
Yeah, dude. And it went viral because Trump is president, and he's got this anti-immigrant stance. And all these people who are against Trump...
But why wasn't it a thing when Obama was in? Was it because he was, letting it just go? Because he didn't give a shit? Because he deported more people total? Because people don't understand numbers, dude. That's why I hate the Democrats way more. They smile in your face and kick you in the balls, dude, every time.
Yeah. Yeah, and, we covered this when Obama started making these camps, the detention centers, basically. And we covered that. But... the point I want to get to here is that there's this huge discrepancy in what people show concern about, right? Because the Jade Help thing was like this total freak out from all these people. And now we find out they're actually putting these people in, and the whole butt of the whole Jade Helm thing was like a joke because everyone's like, oh yeah, they're going to fucking put people in fucking Walmarts. Yeah, that's really going to fucking happen, right? And it became kind of a big joke because it sounded so stupid, right? But now it's like they literally are putting motherfuckers in Walmarts, and those same people who are freaking out about it, suddenly they don't give a shit because they're fucking not U.S. citizens and they have brown skin. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a total fucking gap of conscience. It's a gap of fucking conscience, dude. Like, they don't.
But when have we ever had it for in our lives ever?
We haven't.
Ever, dude. Have we ever had a president that was moral ever?
Because America has been programmed for hundreds of fucking years, right? And I was thinking about this. I'm like, damn, man. Like, when did this start? Because I was like, at first I was like, damn, maybe all this started at 9/11 and stuff. And then I'm thinking like, nah, dude, this has to do with the whole American exceptionalism. What is that? The Destiny thing? I can't even remember the fucking name of that right now. Manifest Destiny. There you go. All that stuff. Look, this stuff is hundreds of years old. We've been programmed for hundreds of years to not give a shit about certain groups of people, namely brown-skinned people who are Native American, and which is most of those people, most of these immigrants coming up are Native American, Latinos. And America has been programmed for hundreds of years to not give two fucks about Native Americans. In fact, we've been programmed to say, you know what, fuck Native Americans, throw them in fucking reservation, let them die for all we give a shit, right? And so then I was like, well, why don't people care about these, Native American Latinos getting, even children getting put in these prison camps? Well, because we've been told not to give a shit for hundreds of years. You think people are going to all of a sudden switch up and say, oh, damn, I give a shit now? People share the fucking story because they think they can pin it on Trump, and then a week later they fucking forget about it. I mean, this is a big deal, dude. There are prison camps going up in this fucking country, storing children in them. And a bunch of those kids are going missing. This is a big fucking deal. I mean, this is some Nazi shit. And people just try. The only time people are going to give a shit about it is when they can politicize and try to blame it on Trump. This shit didn't start under Trump. It started under Bush actually, and expanded under Obama. And Trump, I'm sure, is probably going to make it worse. You know, and so this is a really, really, really big issue, bro. And like, this to me, dude, is something that is going to go down in history. I think in this country of one of our epic moral failings when we failed to stop incarcerating fucking kids. And they haven't even committed a crime. The only thing they've done is gone along with their fucking parents that are immigrating into this country without going through the steps. And these kids are getting thrown in jail because their parents aren't following U.S. law.
Yeah, of course, dude, because the precedent was set when we incarcerated all the Japanese Americans in California. If they're going to do it to citizens, you think they give fuck all on people that aren't from here, dude? They don't give a shit. It's all a money game. So they have it. We have never not. We're still at war officially. They kept us at war with the Third Reich on paper, so that we've been at war in emergency powers of wartime for the last 70 years. Every year they just renew it. And why do they do that? Because they can lock anybody up at any time for any reason. That's why they do it, dude. So they're just the next.
I got an interesting question for you. On that topic of the Japanese internment, why were the Japanese interned and not the Germans?
Because, well, the Germans were in lesser numbers. You have to understand something about America. America very narrowly decided to keep English as the official language versus German. That was in the late 1800s. There's more Germans in America than in Germany by far, like 3 times as much. So I myself am. So you can't get away from German blood in America. There's a difference between the German blood that came here, the pioneer class that came and farmed. They didn't own slaves, dude. They actually worked with sharecroppers. I mean, they were a completely different class than the aristocracy that stayed over there, the old school. So you can't really compare them. And the ones that were here were tried and true. They'd been here generations. They were farmers. So there wasn't much question of most of their loyalty. The Japanese had the misfortune of, one, of course, looking very different, and 2, owning all the very, very, very good cropland in California. So they just took it all. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, they did it to Mexico. Think about this, dude. We went to war with Mexico, and we went all the way to Mexico City, but we didn't keep all Chihuahua or any of that. We gave that back to them because we didn't want to deal with all that shit land. We just kept all the good stuff.
Yeah. Interesting way to look at it.
We're just a company, man. I know it sucks to think about it so coldly, but I truly don't even think the people that run this country look at human life as anything but a number. It's not personal for them. They're over in the Middle East blowing people up with drones so they can get the resources. It's just a business.
Yeah. Now, I think one of the reasons, and now, look, I'd have to pull up the polling data. I don't even know if it exists. But I would say the amount of people who favored interning the Japanese was probably a similar percentage of people who favored bombing Iraq after 9/11, which is a large, large majority of people. Right?
I think it was in the 90 percentile, dude.
Yeah, that would be my guess. And so we look back on that. We look back on the internment of the Japanese, and we just think like, oh my God, that was so bad, and that will never happen again. That was so long ago. And here we are today. Go ask the average American that actually, maybe not the average, because the average probably don't even know that the Japanese were interned in fucking World War II. But go ask people who know about it. And ask them if they think that would happen today. And they would be like, no, hell no. This is America. Like, that was a long time ago. Times were different. That'll never happen, nowadays. And then you tell them, well, oh, by the way, they're interning fucking Guatemalan children right now in fucking military camps. Ripping them from their fucking parents. And those fools are like, what? Huh? You mean those illegals?
It's bad news, dude, because I'm sure a percentage of these kids they'll they'll never track them down. I mean, I'm sure they ended up in the worst places you can imagine.
The theme
These
here,
people feed off of this shit, dude. They go over to Haiti when there's earthquakes and they kidnap kids, and they go to Africa and dude, they go to so many people were going to Thailand that now, if you're like an old white single man, they basically trail you from the airport and track you every minute you're there, because there's so many pedophiles coming in that fit that description, dude, from Europe. So like, it's a worldwide ring, dude, and it's scary shit. Like, it's not just them being separated. It's like the parents, there's a chance they never get reunited because those kids end up the worst place you can imagine, dude.
yeah, dude. And so the theme here that I'm looking at, what I'm recognizing, is the dehumanization, right? Now, go back and look at World War II propaganda, and the U.S. was at an economic war with Japan long before Pearl Harbor, and many historians would argue that the U.S. provoked Pearl Harbor, and many people have even said that the U.S. knew Pearl Harbor was coming, that the attack was imminent, and they let it happen anyway as a pretext to get it into the war. I don't know, the whole story, of course, but look back at the World War II propaganda against the Japanese, and it was, a lot of it compared them to animals, a lot of it compared them to rats, a lot of it compared them to vermin, basically. Go look at it. Go look at the anti-Japanese propaganda, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I'm starting to see a lot of similar rhetoric being used now against immigrants, dude. Trump calling them animals. The fact that we call immigrants illegal aliens, I mean, they've been using that term for a long fucking time. Ever since I can remember, they've been calling. I remember when I was a kid, when I heard it the first time, and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Mom, there's illegal aliens. Like, what the hell is going on? What are we gonna do?" And my mom was like, had to explain to me, no, that they're not talking about actual aliens like extraterrestrials. They're talking about, people who are crossing the border without, going through the system or whatever. And I was like, I remember when I was a kid, and I was like, what? That's okay. Why are they calling them aliens though? They're not aliens. And of course, alien has a literal term which means a person that's, from outside of the, not from that country or whatever. But the fact that they call them illegal aliens, it's a dehumanizing tactic. And now that Trump is trying to brand, painting with a broad brush here, basically branding many immigrants as MS-13 gang members and then calling those people animals, it's a very troubling sign of more to come, dude. The dehumanization of immigrants, it's been going softly for a long time. Like I said, the illegal alien rhetoric has been going for decades. But Trump has been ratcheting up that rhetoric, and I'm worried that some major event could happen. Like, let's say MS-13 is blamed for a massive terrorist attack or some massive kidnapping or some, major, catastrophe, where the rhetoric could be ratcheted up to the point where we start seeing things reminiscent of what went on with the Japanese in World War II in the United States. I don't think we're that far away from that, because I look at Trump's policies. Very few of them have been popular. The two of the ones that have been the Muslim ban and the build the wall stuff. These are popular items. People generally agree across lines, party lines, that they agreed that Trump should ban Muslims and should build a wall and restrict immigration, because people believe, for one, that Muslim immigration makes them unsafe, and that Latino immigration makes their economic situation worse. People believe that. I don't think there's very much truth to those claims. In fact, you could actually, I would say that immigrants make you safer and increase your economy and commit less crime than people who are born here. But people believe what they're going to believe because there's been years and years of propaganda going into that stuff. And, Trump said it himself not too long ago, that he's not sure he can unite this country without a major event happening. And I think what he was referring to was how the country united after 9/11, and everyone became, yeah, you know what, fuck Muslims. Like everyone was like, yep, go bomb the fucking shit out of these Muslim countries. I don't care if you drop nukes on them, just get it done. 90% of people agreed. And so I'm worried that there's going to be context sometime soon that could lead to an anti-immigrant crackdown that we've never seen before or haven't seen since, the Japanese got fucking interned. Checkpoints, stop and frisk everywhere.
Well, that's what they'll do if we're in an open war with some other country, and they have they have to mobilize. I mean, because anybody could be a threat. I mean, anybody. So that's the biggest problem is when you give a government the power to basically do about anything in the world you could think of, they'll do it. I mean, they're not trying to lose that gravy train. We're talking about 60% of the GDP right now, I think.
Now,
Nick?
yeah,
maybe higher.
Yep. Now look, I know that MS-13 is a bad group, and I know that they're responsible for murders, kidnappings, racketeering, a bunch of horrible shit. I know that. And I know that most violent criminal gangs are bad. The cartels are bad. The mafia is bad. They're not good people. They use violence to get their way. But the outsized amount of propaganda about MS-13 coming from the Trump administration has got me convinced that these guys are laying the rhetorical foundation of something big coming against immigrants that's much worse than what we're seeing, much worse than right now where they're separating these kids, putting these kids in camps. What I'm worried about is a much wider crackdown where whole communities are kind of encircled with checkpoints and door-to-door knocks and immigration raids and just stuff that just the state terrorizing entire neighborhoods and shit like that. And I would like to think that this country would reject that kind of stuff. But look, remember back to the presidential debates when several of the Republican candidates, including Cruz and Trump and a few of the others, were like, yeah, dude, we should totally stick Muslims on a list, and we should totally patrol neighborhoods and keep a database of all the mosques. And those fools got cheered on for that. And of course the media is like, oh my god, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he's saying that shit. But I'll tell you what, dude, there's a silent majority of people that quietly were like, yep. We got to monitor them mosques. We got to spy on these Muslims. We got to put all the Muslims on a list. There's a silent majority of people that are going to go along with that stuff. And maybe it was the same way in Nazi Germany too. Maybe we look back and oh yeah, the Germans got fooled into thinking that shit, didn't they? That sucks. I can't believe they were that dumb to get tricked into, doing the whole Holocaust and everything. Maybe we give the Nazis more credit than they deserve. Maybe people are so goddamn xenophobic, like many of the people, a silent majority of people are in this country, that these policies are actually popular.
I think it always is boiled down to just seriously how intelligent of a person are you and how well-rounded are you. I mean, if you've never exposed yourself, never pushed your boundaries, never met somebody different than you, then yeah, you tend to be xenophobic. Doesn't matter what your race is or your nationality. I mean, it's up to you to integrate with the rest of the world, not the rest of the world to cater to your sorry ass.
Thank you all for tuning in. Anti-Media Radio. We'll be back Wednesday for our last show. Thank you all.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.